Goalkeepers, nervous strikers, they'll deliver. Crowd roars erupted, you can feel the quake.
Hello everybody, welcome to the channel. So today we'll be talking about the very latest football news, football transfer news. And so we'll be talking about likes of Victor Osimhen, the absolute transfer frenzy. Lots of clubs are interested in his signature. We have different reports, different rumors about, Victor Osimhen. There are youngsters that, have become the athletes have come to my notice that could be eligible to play for Nigeria. We'll talk about them as well. We have a Nigerian player in the Premier League that's hit a special milestone. Who is that player? We'll have a discussion about that as well. And we'll have a look at the list, for the under-20 AFCON, Flying Eagles under-20 AFCON list. Although I'll admit it's not one of those, it's not from the official, NFF handle, an official Flying Eagles handle, but just something that is out there, in the football ecosystem, and we'll talk about it. And I want to know what your opinions are, about it as well. And then we'll talk about, what happened in the Serie A concerning one of Nigerian Super Eagles foremost players, a world-class player. Something happened in the Serie A, sort of confusion, and the reason that the coach has given, or the coach gave, just doesn't compute, doesn't make sense to me. We'll talk about that as well on here. So just stick with me and let's dive straight into it. So we've had different reports about Victor Osimhen, being linked to different clubs, especially with his form, because he's been on spectacular form, for Galatasaray. He's over 30 plus goals and assists, goal contributions, so phenomenal season he's having. And when you do well, lots of clubs want to sign you. So we heard reports about Manchester United, but although Manchester United since they're unable to, since they won't be able to make Europe this season, I don't know if they'll be able to get him. But anyway, that's still a very big club, still have seemingly endless resources to go for a striker like Victor Osimhen. And the question is, would he want to go there? Wouldn't he want to play in some version of European football, that's continental European football, as opposed to just Premier League football? You have that as well. And of course, you heard Napoli have said he won't be staying at Galatasaray, according to Fabrizio Romano, transfer insider. He said Victor Osimhen definitely will not be staying at Galatasaray, will not be continuing at Galatasaray. And Napoli are looking to sell him off, looking for a deal that even if the deal could be completed way before, the transfer window officially opens, he will be sold off. He will be sold to another club. So for me, I would have loved him to come to Chelsea, but the way the Chelsea board have been going about things, I don't think that they will sign him, because at the minute we're hearing they're going for another Malian winger, a 17-year-old winger. So it seems they keep going for these wingers and number 10s, wingers and 10s, and here talks about the lap. So I don't know. I wish Chelsea could sign him, but for me right now, what I'm concerned about is Victor Osimhen going to a club that would allow him play to his best, allow him show what he's capable of doing in the Premier League. I've seen people trying to compare with Liam Delap. For me, I just feel that's a little bit insulting to Osimhen and a bit unfair as well to the player like Liam Delap, who's further down the rungs in terms of his development as a player. The same thing with Sesko. So I think Victor Osimhen, we've had talks, and now there are talks imagine that probably Real Madrid could be interested as well, due to the fact that there's sort of a contract stalemate between Real Madrid and Vini Jr. But for me, when you look at that, you ask yourself, Vini Jr. is at best a winger, and Victor Osimhen is a striker, an out-and-out striker. He can do a lot of things: powerful, pacey, aggressive, obviously score goals, running behind, pin the defender down, bring his teammates into play, involve them, motivate his teammates on the pitch. But he is not a winger. He is a world-class striker, but I don't think he is even an average winger. So I don't want a situation where Victor Osimhen will go off to Real Madrid and then he'll end up playing as a winger or something, playing sub Kylian Mbappe. I don't want that sort of business. For me, in my opinion, Victor Osimhen should go to a club that respects him enough to say, you are my man. you're going to play, you're going to lead the line as a striker. If that's Chelsea, so be it. If that's another club, top club in Europe, so be it. So that's where he needs to go. He doesn't have to go to any club because the level he's at now is absolutely world class. I dare you to mention 4 strikers better than Victor Osimhen right now. Mention 4 strikers. I dare you mention 4 strikers that are better than Victor Osimhen. So if you can't mention 4 strikers better than Victor Osimhen, then why should you go to a club where you're going to play second fiddle, or you're going to have to play, in a position that is not his natural position, not the position he has been playing, since he started his football career. So for me, Victor Osimhen, top class striker, I think he should go to a club where he's going to have the opportunity to play well, to play his best football. And right now, for me, I don't think Manchester United is even a club for him to go, because right now, what I think at Manchester United is head and shoulders above any striker that they're going to ever get in this, should I say, next 2 years. He's definitely better than what they have at the minute. But the state they are in at this point in time, the burden on him is going to be way too much, in my opinion, because right now I think there are other aspects of Manchester United play or Manchester United team that needs addressing before you think of signing Victor Osimhen. But then again, on the flip side of things, you could say that Manchester United, of course, they have the money. They could go and pay top dollar and get Victor Osimhen in the building. Another club as well that could be interested in Victor Osimhen, and if they eventually become interested in Victor Osimhen, I think they will have the money, they will have the resources, to sign him, and that is PSG. They have money, so they seem to have an endless supply of transfer funds. So I think they will be able to sign Victor Osimhen as well. And when you look at the kind of strikers they have, I know they have Goncalo Ramos, but Goncalo Ramos, with due respect to him, is not in the league of a Victor Osimhen. He's nowhere near the ability of Victor Osimhen. And I'll say this, I don't think he's even worthy to lace the boots of Victor Osimhen, in my opinion. That's my humble opinion. But on the other side of things, look at how Luis Enrique plays with PSG. I don't think he really wants an out-and-out striker. You've got your Bacola, you've got your Moussa Dembele, Ousmane Dembele, sorry, you got your Dembele in there. When you look at them, Dembele has scored, 20 plus goals this season. But when you see the way he plays, he's not that kind of player that plays like a traditional number 9. And while Victor Osimhen can do a lot of things perfectly or excellently at a high level, he is a traditional number 9. So you wouldn't want Victor Osimhen having to play out wide or drift into the 10th position, try to create opportunities that way. That wouldn't suit him. So for me, that strikes PSG off the list, despite the fact that they have the resources, they have the wherewithal to get him to actually and even match whatever salary demands he has. Some people, especially some Chelsea fans, have just gone silly. They're trying to paint Victor Osimhen as a sort of mercenary that wants way too much money than he's worth. Let me ask you this. If you're going to sign Lewandowski, how much are you going to pay Lewandowski? I mean, right now, I'm not talking about prime Lewandowski that played for Dortmund. I'm talking about Lewandowski, the age he's at the minute, how much are you going to pay for him? That's a question you have to ask. If you're going to get a Harry Kane, he scores lots of goals, but he has his own weaknesses. How much are you going to pay for him? So, want to know in the comments, what do you think about all these transfer rumors, transfer reports about Victor Osimhen? And we'll definitely come back to it and try to address it. So let the comments keep coming in, and we'll take it from there. And then we have to talk about Ademola Lookman. Now, for me, in the Serie A, Gasperini, the head coach of Atalanta, there was a substitution, and Ademola Lookman was taken off whilst Atalanta needed a goal. And then there's this whole thing where Gasperini has come up to say, "Oh, there was confusion. We're confused. I was a bit confused. We confused Eda with Ade. And that's why we took off Ademola Lookman as opposed to Ederson." Now, for me, I've seen situations where, the fourth official is with the substitution board in his hands, and it's about raising it up. Or sometimes he even has it fully raised, but you see a fourth official, or you see an assistant coach would come off the bench, tap the fourth official on the back to say, oh, that's not the number I want to change. And then you see the official bring that board down, look at it, and then make the substitutions, and then the right player comes off. But now you're hearing all these excuses. For me, once again, I think this is another reason, another pointer to the fact that Ademola Lookman do not sign a new contract at Atalanta. I'm begging you, Ademola Lookman, don't sign a new contract at Atalanta. Make sure you leave with all the interest coming in, Premier League clubs, Juventus rumor to be interested. Just leave. Because if you don't, you'd have yourself to blame. This is deep level disrespect, in my own opinion. Because Ademola Lookman is not some academy player, not an 18-year-old player, just just making his way through the ranks at Atalanta. So this is your top player, arguably your best player, and you tell me you're confusing him with a player that's not even playing in the same position that he plays in? How can that happen? Would you ever hear Ancelotti say, "Oh, I wanted to actually change Valverde, and then I substituted Mbappe instead"? Would you ever hear company say, "I wanted to take I want to take Alphonso Davies off, and then I rather took off Harry Kane"? You would not hear that because it is ridiculous and it's something that never ever happens. You can't substitute a player by mistake. You can own up and come up with something to say, "Oh, it was some tactical for tactical reasons. We wanted to show up the midfield more, blah 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 blah." Come up with different excuses as coaches do. Some coaches just come and say it's for tactical reasons, for technical reasons, and that's it. But to come up to say that you made a mistake in taking off Ademola Lookman, your best player, one of the most recognizable players you have, and you bring, as opposed to a midfielder, that someone that plays a different position altogether, for me, that is just strange. I don't know whatever the reasons are, but I think this is one more reason for Ademola Lookman to say to himself, "Now, I'm going to leave this club." And I think he should leave, Atlanta, with all due respect, in my opinion. Now, we'll look at, the supposed list for the 35-man provisional list for the under 20 AFCON that have been released. And for me, before I bring up the list and read it out and we have our discussions about it, I've seen some pictures of the players that are meant to be in this under 20s. And I scratched my head. I said, are we still here? Are we still in this position? Are we still in this place? Are we still in this era where we use players that should not be used? Because I know people are going to say whatever they will say, but are we still in this era where we use this sort of players? I saw the pictures and I said, my Lord, that means if I really shave, probably I could be on that list. Shave, take off my red cap as a chief, maybe I'll no longer be on that list. So it was really, really strange for me. So we're going to look at the list and then we'll have a discussion about that, and then we'll talk about other transfer news as well. And so I'll just share my screen in a minute, making sure we get the right one. Yeah, so let's go. I'll share my screen in a minute. Let's share screen. Now, so this is the full provisional squad. Yeah, you can all see it. This is the full provisional squad. If you can all see it. So yes, so this is Flying Eagles. So we've got on the list Flying Eagles, 7-time champions of the under 20 AFCON naming. Full provisional squad. We've got goalkeepers Rufai Abubakar Malvern FC, Suli Ajia FK Novia Paza Serbia, Ebenezer Harcourt Sporting Lagos. We've got defenders Emmanuel Chukwu TSG Hoffenheim Germany. Bundesliga. We've got Kenneth Ibokwe Enugu Rangers, Daniel Bamiyi Bayelsa United, Adewale Kwodin Nat Boys, Afamu Maigari Academy Warriors, Odinaka Emmanuel Sporting Lagos, Chigozie Ehijio 4, Katsina United, Haruna Aliyu, Wiki Torres. And then you go to the midfield, you got Michael Tunde, so EBN, you've got Awo Ibrahim, Oka United, you've got Akin Oluwashele, Water FC, you've got Israel Ayuma, NK Istra, Croatia, you've got Cletus, Simon, Malvern FC, you've got Caleb Ochiduku, NK Ujanka in Montenegro, Ibrahim Awam, Real Valladolid, Suleiman Alabi, Jojo, El Kanemi Warriors, Shafiu Duguri, Wiki Torres, Nasiru Saliu, El Kanemi Warriors, Sabiu Mohammed, Niger Tornadoes, forwards Adeleke, Abdul Muiz, Adoration FC, Armiyu, Yeshua, Katsina United, Mustafa Omar, Kano Pillars, Anthony Ezekiel, Inspire FC, O2, Joseph, Moralo FC, Olise Divine, Foster FC, Foster Academy rather, Clinton, Jeff Taimba, Bidemi Amole, Real Sapphire, Umar Abubakar, KAA Ghent, Belgium. I know I talked about this as well. You know that he has been invited. Tahir, My Ghana, Wireless FC, Rixin Mendoz, Ninja Tornadoes, Matthew Kingsley, Kings FC, Benjamin Precious, Hoffenheim, Germany. Now, for me, this is a provisional list, 35-man list. Now, there are some names that are missing on this list that are conspicuously absent. Now, for me, I would have wanted Nari Arehiporabo to have been on here, but he's not on this list. I don't know why, but I'm guessing that's what it is. So he's not on the list. And then as well, there are some other names like Dubem Eze that I thought was invited, but he's not on here as well. And then you've got Abubeonu Chukwu, not on here on the list as well, this 35-man list. So for me, I'm back to the fact that I saw some pictures that made the rounds about for this, AFCON on the 20s, on the 20 side. And I looked at it and I said, no, we can't be going back to that. We can't be going back to that era where we're using players that shouldn't be playing. We can't be going back to it. So for me, I looked at this list. I think, some of the players on the list, I've seen them. They're good enough to be on here, like Umar Abubakar, plays for Ghent, their academy. So I think he is very good. Hoffen, from those two lads who have joined Hoffenheim. So I think those are very good as well. For me, I'm not even really bothered about, having a lot of home-based players. After all, these players are meant to be under 20. So it can happen for Malvern FC, it could happen from Beyond Limits Academy. So that's no worries, no problem about it. But for me, if you take your time and you look at the pictures of these players that are meant to be, the age are meant to be, then that's cause for concern, in my opinion, because for me, we are not doing our football any good if we're heading back to that era, especially in this time and age where you're having grassroots academies doing top level job in terms of the competitions they're having, like the creative championship, how they run the academies, creating actual young talent. So to have a list like this and to see the pictures that we saw, and no one should tell me anything about, it's hardship. No. Hardship is one thing. The tough life is one thing. And when you see what I saw, that's quite another thing as well. So that's it about the list. One of what your personal opinions are on the AFCON under 20, because for me, I think AFCON under 20, or in fact, any age grade competition under 17, under 20, under 23 is meant to be developmental. So you need to get, if it's under 17, you need to get people who are maybe, let's say, between 14 and 16 years on a couple of months. That's what you should be looking at. If it's under 20, you should be looking at people who are maybe between 16, 17, 18, up to 19 years and 19 years plus, 19 and a couple of months. 23, you should be looking at people who are, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, and a couple of months. That's what you should be looking at if you really, 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 want to drive, the development of Nigerian football. Because end of the day, if you're having people who are not meant to be there, you're not doing yourself any good, in my opinion. You're not doing yourself any good, in my opinion. So if you're not joining the video, we've talked about a couple of topics. So we've talked about, first off, Victor Osimhen. We have the transfer frenzy, different clubs, different top clubs, being linked to his signature, being linked to wanting to make transfer transactions, to get him to play for them. And we're having some Premier League clubs as well, you're having some Premier League clubs as well, linked to Victor Osimhen to bring him to the Premier League. So what are your thoughts and opinions on Victor Osimhen in that regard? And then we're talking about Ademola Lookman, the supposed error made by his coach, made by Gasperini, and bringing him in, taking him off, as opposed to a midfielder the coach saying he made an error, he made a mistake. So I want to know what your thoughts and opinions are on that. Do you think that's a genuine mistake that was made by the coach, or there's something more to it? For me, I've said that is enough reason, or that at least should be one more reason for Ademola Lookman to say, Atalanta, I've won all I can win with you. So cheerio, goodbye, I'll see you another time. So that should be what Ademola Lookman, should be saying. And then now back to this under 20 provisional list for the under 20 AFCON. What are your thoughts and opinions about it? For me, I'm happy with some players that were included, and I'm a bit surprised that certain players were not included, given how they've been rising. And I would say, Ari Korabo, how he has risen from the grassroots level, scoring goals at every level, and even in the Wafubi for under 20, he scored that winning goal in the final. He scored the winning goal in the final, and now he's not on this list. I don't know why, or is it that he's not yet graduated to play for the first team in Lillestrøm? Maybe that's what the reason is. But I was thinking that this was meant to be a development. This is meant to be a developmental tournament, So I'm a bit surprised and taken back about that. So I want to know what your thoughts and opinions are on that. And then talking about young talents now. So for me, there's I did a video earlier on about them, but I want to talk about them again on here, so you can check out that video after this. So there is, David, Otobi. He plays for Valencia under 18s. He's an exciting winger. And like I said in that video, I'm not saying bring him into the Super Eagles or anything like that. He's still a young player. What I'm saying is get him integrated into the larger ecosystem of Nigerian football. So the under 20 tournaments like this, he should be part of it. He should be part of it. On the under 17 tournaments, he should be part of it. He should be part of it. The NFF should build that connection with his players. I talked about Sydney Osazua as well. These are two players that, they are based in Spain. I think they're eligible to play for Spain as well, but are also more eligible to play for Nigeria when you hear their names as well. So I'm saying these players should be integrated into the larger football ecosystem. And when I say this, people say, oh, you're always talking about foreign players, though. Even grassroots players like Eric Korabo as well. And then when you look at how a list like this has been composed, this AFCON under 20 list, you look at it, you just shake your head. Now, why are you doing this? You have the players. Football has developed, has gone so far. Nigerian football has gone too far, to be going back to this old bad habits, in my opinion. So for me, I do not like that. But want to know what your thoughts and opinions are? Let me know in the comments, in the chats. So that's what I think about that list. So, but anyway, wish them all the best. Wish they can be successful in the tournament. But I'm not happy with how the list has been constituted. I'm not like happy about the construction of the team. So, but that we'll have to discuss that another day. And then now talking about players in the Premier, talking about players coming to the Premier League, like Victor Osimhen could be heading to the Premier League. Hopefully it's Chelsea. But um, there's a player who has been in the Premier League for a while. He's played for Arsenal. He's played for Everton. He's played for Fulham. Right. He currently plays for Fulham at the minute. He has broken the record to be the first Nigerian player in the Premier League to hit 30 plus goals and 30 plus assists. So for me, I'll give him credit as Alex Iwobi, someone I talk about on this channel a lot. And some people think I have something against the player. I do not have anything against Alex Iwobi. I think he's a very, very good player. For me, I just feel like, he doesn't quite, have the minerals to play in the way that Eric Joe wants to play. And I just feel like he doesn't have that super special, ability where you can let him go without being, physical on the pitch. But in the couple of games he played in the World Cup qualifiers, he seemed to have improved a bit his physicality. So for me, if he continues to improve, then that's fine. I have no issues about the player. For me, is you come on game day, you perform for the country. That's my own thoughts on the pitch. That's how I look at it. If you come and you start performing, start playing very well, start meeting expectations for the country, for Nigeria Super Eagles, I have no issues. That's it. So congratulations to Alex Iwobi for hitting this milestone. He's the first Nigerian to do that in the Premier League. I know Yakubu has also, was also hitting a lot of goals, scoring lots of goals, but I don't think he actually met, the assist benchmark because he was just a goal scorer. So kudos to Alex Iwobi for, that wonderful, wonderful achievement. And then so on the topics we've talked about, what are some opinions? I would like to know what you think. And now there are people who have been saying, Ademola Lookman should join Juventus, should leave Atalanta and join up with Juventus. And I have sort of been talking about that as well. I've talked about Ademola Lookman leaving Atalanta, Ademola Lookman leaving Atalanta, but I've never said Juventus. For me, I've been of the mindset that he should come, to the Premier League. So, but what do you think about him going to Juventus? So is this something that you think would work? For me, I think Juventus at this minute, though they're a traditional club, they're a historical club, they're a big club, and of course, that arguably the biggest club in Italian football. But right now, I don't think they're a steady sheet. Right now, I don't think they have everything working well. I don't think it's a comfortable place for Ademola Lookman to come in. Because I think it's something that you can get signed, and then a new coach would come in very next moment, and you could be gone. So I think he should head to a place that is more stable in terms of the ownership, in terms of the direction of the club. And I don't think Juventus is that stable place. So for me, I wouldn't mind if he goes to an Arsenal because I think it's a more stable setup. I wouldn't mind if he goes to the PSG because I think that's a more stable setup. And the way he plays, I think, suits the way Luis Enrique wants to play at PSG because style makes players. Because you go to a club and the emphasis isn't on those wide forwards contributing to goals, those wide forwards contributing to assists. It could just be wide forwards, be orthodox winger. You go to the byline, put the cross in, and we all know Ademola Lookman isn't that sort of player. And he's 27 years old, so the next move is his most important move, and he shouldn't make a wrong move by heading to a club that won't use him to the best, of his ability, or at least put him in the best position, to succeed. If he goes to PSG, Champions League football is guaranteed for sure, because every year he'll be going to Champions League. He'll be able to score lots of goals, lots of assists. He'll be able to earn proper money as well. So I think PSG could be a good place for him to go. If he goes to Arsenal, he'll be able to compete there as well for the league, but no one knows if he'll actually be able to, win the Premier League with Arsenal because of course they are Arsenal. And then talking about Chelsea right now, I don't know. I would love him obviously to come to Chelsea, but the issue right now with Chelsea is that where is he going to play? You have Jadon Sancho there, one. Even if I think he's better than Jadon Sancho, you have Jadon Sancho there. No one knows what's happening with Mikhailo Modric, and then you have Noni Madueke, who plays on the right winger, though, and then you have your Pedro Neto. And then for me, the main stumbling block, the main issue is Enzo Maresca. Because for me, Enzo Maresca, the way he decided to complicate things just blows my mind. Enzo Maresca has decided to complicate things. You have exciting, pacey wingers that some managers, some coaches beg and pray for to have in their team. You have exciting, pacey fullbacks that managers, coaches, they beg to have in their team. But you've turned them to whatever I can't understand. Gusto is not like a scared cat. He just has himself tied into that midfield role. He's too scared to come up and overlap. He doesn't even come up to overlap anymore. He has Rich James. At least the last game, Rich James was playing at right back, at left back, right? Whereas he's obviously a right back. So Enzo Maresca is just complicating things. For me, I don't want to see a situation where Ademola Lookman signs for Chelsea and the next minute you see him playing as a 6, or the next minute you see playing at right back. You may say, "Oh, that is just you're exaggerating," but no. We've seen it before. We've seen Pedro Neto play as a right back, a left-footed winger playing as a right back. We've seen it. We've seen Caicedo, a 6, and it's one of the best young defensive midfielders. We've seen him play as a right back. And then you're wondering, why would a coach do that? So for me, I don't want that for Ademola Lookman. Yes, I'm a Chelsea fan. Yes, I want Chelsea to succeed. And yes, if Ademola Lookman is signed tomorrow, I will be excited. I will say yes. That's a good sign, because of course you'll be a good signing. But the problem is, the issue is, Momo says is no. I won't argue with you. You won't see any argument with me in that regard. You won't see any argument with me. But then the issue is, where would he then play Ademola Lookman if he then comes to Chelsea? That is the issue. That is the issue. And you know the way English football is, you know the way the Premier League is. People would, in 2 seconds, forget that the manager is playing him out of position and begin to criticize him for not playing well. Like how people are criticizing Malo Gusto. They ignore the fact that the manager has him playing as an 8 for the most part, as opposed to the two-way right back or attack-minded right back that he is. He has him playing, as a midfielder for the most part. That is not what I want to see at all. But that's what he had Malo Gusto doing. And he could very well have Ademola Lookman doing that as well. And I think he has caught this, modern manager bug, where they're more concerned about their philosophy, they're more concerned about their, patterns of play, as opposed to what works for the player. Ancelotti went to Real Madrid. He just said, "Oh, Vini Jr., left winger, right? You're going to play there." Okay. Rudiger, centre back, you're going to play there. The only time you see Carlo Ancelotti play a player out of position is because he is forced to do that. Because maybe a player is injured, a player is tired, then there's lack of squad depth, then he will do some tweaks and then have to play in a position like that. If that happens, then fine. Then you can understand and say, okay, yeah, we get it. Or this player, we have a player out injured, so we have to find a way to make do in the meantime. But that's not what Enzo Maresca is doing. So for me, I find it difficult. While I would love, Ademola Lookman at Chelsea, because I think he is better than what Chelsea have at the minute right now. Because 1, he's quicker than Sancho. 2, he's more of a goal scoring threat than Sancho. 3, he's got skills as well. 4, his first touch, I think, is at par with Sancho. So I don't see how Sancho is better than him. Okay, if you talk about Mikhailo Modric, if and when he does indeed come back, Mikhailo Modric obviously is faster, pacier, has more pace than Ademola Lookman. But Ademola Lookman is more mature. Ademola Lookman is more of, it's a more steady, consistent goal threat than, Mikhailo Modric. So is a more more proficient goal threat than Pedro Neto. So anyone that can play there, he is better. But the way Maresca has been going about things, I just think right now, Ademola Lookman, go to a club where you will be allowed to play your best. You will be put in a position where you can play your best. And then he has to leave Atalanta because the way he's going at this minute, he just has to leave. And one thing I want Ademola Lookman to avoid is to avoid making the mistake that Victor Osimhen made. Victor Osimhen saw all the signs from Napoli. He saw all the signs, the mockery that he did on TikTok and all the, sort of abuse he got. He saw all that. And then he still went on to sign a new deal. And then that's why it's been difficult for him to make that big move to that big club that he wants to go to. With all due respect to Galatasaray. So that's one thing you want to avoid. I don't want Lookman. I don't want to hear come June of 2025 you sign a new 3-year contract with Atalanta, because you will regret it. That's for sure. I wouldn't want you to regret it, but you will regret it because that's how these things work. Now you have all the power in your hands. Take your time and go to a club where they'll allow you to play your best. That is my humble opinion in that regard. And then I want to know your thoughts as well on Alex Iwobi. I've talked about him. The record he's broken. In the Premier League, the first Nigerian to hit 30 goals and 30 assists in the Premier League. So, of course, not for this season, because if it was just for this season, then he would have possibly been in Ballon d'Or conversation. So, what are your thoughts and opinions about that? What are your thoughts and opinions on the under 20, on the list for the 20 AFCON? What are your thoughts and opinions on that bit? Let me know what you think there, and also, what do you think about Victor Osimhen? Should he come to the Premier League? Should he go to Real Madrid if an offer comes in? I know that might seem like crazy talk, but then again, if Real Madrid comes in, you will definitely have to go, because that's one of the biggest clubs in the world, if not the biggest. And you steadily be in Champions League competitions. You steadily be in being it to you be in good nick to win a trophy or two and come. And at the end of the day, as a player, why do you play football? I know there's the joy of it, but you want to win trophies. You want to win Champions League titles. You want to win, league titles. He's already won one league title, with Napoli. He's won, I think, the Italian Cup as well. I think, if I'm not mistaken, So, and then he's right now in a good position to win the Turkish league with Galatasaray. So let's see how that shakes out. He's in a good position to win the Turkish league with them. So the next move, he should be going to a club where he can actually win. Where he can indeed win. So if he goes to Real Madrid, winning there is guaranteed. He's going to win at least La Liga or Champions League or both. If he signs a 5-year deal, he's going to end up winning those 2 titles in those 5 years. At least at Chelsea, there's a possibility he can win titles, but a couple of things have to change. Enzo Maresca needs to get his head out of the sand and begin to think properly. Forget about this what they call modern coach type of thing, where everyone is playing the same type of football, passing out from the back. Even if you have 200 soldiers standing in your 18-yard box, you must pass out from the back. You have the pace. You have the pacey fullback. You have 2 pacey fullbacks, as opposed to letting them free up, stretch their legs, go to the byline, stretch the play. You say no, force them into midfield. Then how would someone like Victor Osimhen thrive in that kind of situation? So let's just hope that these are growing pains from a Chelsea perspective. These are growing pains, with Enzo Maresca, and hopefully he gets his head on right come next season. And if you get a Victor Osimhen, he can definitely change things. Because what people don't get about Victor Osimhen is this: Victor Osimhen is a special player. You don't get a Victor Osimhen type. They don't come around too often. You had, from a Chelsea perspective, you had a Didier Drogba, one. Then you had other strikers between. You had the Diego Costa. You had other strikers between, and you have Victor Osimhen. If you miss out on him, you have to, you know, make do with a lot of other strikers that won't give you what he gives you. So, what's your opinion on that? So that's it about that. And now I want to talk about their top 10 players, who they were meant to be wonder kids, Nigerian wonder kids. They had a lot of vibe and hype around them. What has happened to these players? There's an article I saw, and I want us to have a look at it together, and we'll go through it together, and we will, have discussion about, about these players. What happened to them? What happened to these players? You have players like Chrysanthus, Macaulay Chrysanthus, Haruna. So what happened to these players? Bringing up this article very soon. I'll have a look at it, and then we'll have all discuss it. So 10 Nigerian wonder kids that just vanished. They didn't meet their potential. They didn't meet their potential at all. So I'll just share it. That's why it's very important to have the right people around you. Very important, to make the right decision as a player. So share this now. So the first one on here is Haruna Lookman. Haruna Lookman, he was meant to be that 10. I don't know how many of us remember Haruna Lookman. Haruna Lookman was meant to be that 10. Look at him here. He was meant to be that 10. Creative midfielder, made that move to Monaco. He just vanished and didn't quite live up to expectation. I was really disappointed because it was one player he looked at and he said, yeah, not quite JJ, because no one can actually ever be JJ, but someone in that nick that can be creative, that can play behind the striker, that can lay those passes, between the lines, create opportunities for his teammates, bring some excitement. So, wonder what happened to him. I think sometimes it's wrong decisions the players make. Sometimes it's the wrong move, that these players make. So you look at him and they say what they say. So, and the second one then, Rabiu Ibrahim. I don't know how many of you remember this player. Sporting Lisbon. He also played for Celtic, in the Scottish League. He was another one that was meant to be, a top player, top talent, just vanished. Sometimes I think, like, who are the people that surround these players? Who are the people that have surrounded these players? Who are the people that help them make decisions? He just vanished. And I think he was also, he had a lot of injury problems as well. So I think that's another thing to consider. Had a lot of injury issues. But for me, I think sometimes it's the wrong move. And sometimes the people you surround yourself with, as a player, he just vanished. He was meant to be that top guy in that 10 role, to be creative as well. But just vanished, didn't quite make it. So for me, Haruna, for me, Rabiu Ibrahim, another one. Then Femi Opabomi, this one was really, really sad, because I don't think it was really anything he did, but it was more so about the eye infection he had, and then that just sort of derailed his career. I felt so bad for him, because he was someone that had, top level potential as well. Played so well in that 2001, FIFA Under-17 World Cup. So was top level player, top level talent. So, and he just vanished as well. So, what are your thoughts and opinions? in the comments, what do you think, causes these players to just vanish, just disappear, their careers just, and now this one, Stanley Okoro. Stanley Okoro was a magical young player. I remember watching this player, and then he made that move to Almeria. So for me, I was like, yeah, he was going to be the next one. And if you remember, he was dubbed Little Messi. So we're all of the mindset that, yeah, although he was not going to be Messi, but at least he will be that next guy that will bring excitement, to Nigeria. But it didn't quite happen for him. Another young, exciting player just vanished. And they ask yourself, what is the Nigerian Football Federation doing about these players? What are they doing? How are they keeping eyes on these players? And then that's why very important again. I'll say it again. This might be something I will say, in this section of this video. Who do these players have surrounding them? Who do they have, advising them? Sometimes the move you make, can affect how your career progresses, because sometimes you may make a move that is more lucrative financially, but in terms of your progression as a player, especially at that young age, it's not the best. Because if you're making that move as a young player, you should be making the move to a club where you're going to play instantly, because the way African players are judged, sadly, rightly or wrongly, is different. Once you don't start making it instantly, you start having those doubters, you start having those, you start having people looking at you sideways. That's for one. So I think that's another thing as well. So when you're making that decision to go to a club, making that decision to maybe you play for under 17, play for under 21, and you're about to sign, for that European club, make sure you go to a place where you are actually going to play, where you get proper advice, from where you get proper advice from your agents, and you have proper guidance. The club you're going to, that you're actually going to play and begin to shine from day one. So Stanley Okoro, another top player, at least top talent, so I don't know what just happened, to him. And then you've got Macaulay Chrysanthus. Now, well, some people have different issues, different reasons, but I'll just leave this picture here for you to have a look at. I think this was meant to be that under 17 tournament. And this is Macaulay Chrysanthus, a 16-year-old Macaulay Chrysanthus. I'll leave the picture for you to have a look at, and then you give your own opinion about it, why you think he didn't succeed. But as a talent, he was a special talent, I tell you. He was a special talent. And we did not quite see, because usually Nigeria would produce diminutive players, when you talk about strikers. Usually we produce strikers who are maybe between 5, 6, and 5, maybe 8, 9, like your Bafemi Martins, who are pacey, stocky, low center of gravity, have thunderous shots, but didn't have that, finesse, that silky technique. But Macaulay Chrysanthus, he had that. But something went wrong. He made moves and they all seemed to, go pear-shaped. And for me, I think there was one main reason he didn't quite shine. I think it's clear from the picture that is on here. I'm not going to say anything, but I think you can look at it at just one glance and make up your mind as to why. And so that's why for me, when Victor Osimhen made that move to Wolfsburg after the under-17 tournament and wasn't getting game time, I was struggling. I was just hoping and praying and say, please, I hope he doesn't become another Macaulay Chrysanthus. But thankfully, he had better people around him, and I think he had more determination about him. From Wolfsburg, he went to Charleroi, to Lille, and then obviously to Napoli, and now he's doing what he's doing at Galatasaray, scoring tons of goals, and hopefully he comes to Chelsea. But that's a different discussion for another day. So Macaulay Chrysanthus, he was another one. He was meant to be that guy. He was meant to be that top striker that would have, been leading the Nigerian front line up until when Victor Osimhen, came online, came on stream, came on as the next one. Macaulay Chrysanthus, another one that just flattered deceiving a bit, showed some promise at age grade competitions, and then just vanished. And then you've got Kelechi Wakali. Kelechi Wakali, I think for him, I think he still has some redemption. He can still redeem himself in a way because Kelechi Wakali, I know he signed for Arsenal and then went on a bunch of loans that didn't quite amount to much. And then he's now currently at Barnsley, I think. So I think he still has the opportunity to change his fortunes, turn his fortunes around because he once again was that 10, that guy that could, have that silky pass that could create, behind two strikers or create behind a non-striker. He was that good, but I don't think he started actually translated, when he went to Arsenal, and that's why I say again, sometimes making that huge jump to an Arsenal, to a Chelsea, to a Man City, to Real Madrid as an 18-year-old coming straight out of Nigeria or the African countries may not be the best thing. May not be the best thing because you will be standing behind 4 5 stars right behind you, so and that could make it really difficult for you to break through. But then again, it boils down to that same thing I've said over and over again in this video, especially in this section of the video, which is what kind of people do you have surrounding you? Because if you have good people surrounding you, when you get to those discussions with the club, because okay, what kind of loan agreement do you have for me? What kind of development plan do you have for me? Are you going to sign me and let me go on loan to another Premier League club or go to another Liga club and indeed, shine there and then prove myself there and then come back to your club when I'm, fully ready and more mature? So if you have this kind of people around you, that could help. Because sometimes a lot of these young players, they have, some agents around them that just are all about, oh, let's get that money. Let's get that money. Oh, this club is offering the biggest salary package. Go there, but they don't quite ask, or sometimes they don't really care about what that club's progression, what that club has in terms of progression pathway for those players. So he was another one. I think, fortunately for him, he still has it in his hands to, turn his future around, to change the story and narrative about him. And then we've got Sani Emmanuel. But this was another one, top talent, but didn't quite make it. And Isaac Promise, it was a sad one for me because Isaac Promise, he was the captain, I think, of that under 20 team that Mikel Obi was in. He was part of the under 20 team, was the captain of that team, but unfortunately he didn't quite make it as a player, and rest in peace. That's all I'll say. That's all I'll say about that. I don't want to talk too much about it. So rest in peace. And unfortunately he's passed on. So we'll just skip over that. But he was yet another promising talent that somehow didn't quite show it. Kabiru Kinshola, another one that just faded away. Philip Osondo, well, that's ancient news. Ancient news. So these wonder kids, what happened to them? How did they just vanish? How did they just disappear? So for me, I think a couple of things, and that's why when I look at this under 20 list, there's an issue I have with it. I'm sure if you've seen the pictures that have been put out by the NFF official handle where they're talking about these under 20 players, some other friendly games they played. When you have a really serious look at those pictures, there's a problem you immediately identify if you're honest. And I think that's a problem that someone like Macaulay Crisantos had as well, because you can't cheat time. You can cheat everyone. You can say different things to different people. you can deceive me, but you can't deceive time, because time, but the time is undefeated. But the time is undefeatable. So that's that issue as well. And then you have the people who they have had themselves surrounded themselves with is another issue. That's another issue that comes into play. So that's very, very important. So unfortunately, these top talents just vanished. But speaking about top talents now, I've talked about two. I've talked about Otobi rather. Talk about Toby, David Toby plays for Valencia on the 18th, and is an exciting talent, an exciting winger. For me, like I said earlier in the video, NFF, just have a look, have a scouting network, have a look at these players, find ways to integrate them to the football ecosystem, not to Super Eagles, to the football ecosystem, whether it's under 17, whether it's under 20, whether it's under 23. Let them be involved in the football ecosystem of Nigeria. Let them begin to know from now that they are part, they are part of that. There's Sydney Osazua. Let him be integrated as well. And Dubem Eze, what is happening with him? I thought he was meant to be part of this AFCON under 20. No one knows what's happening there. And then you have there's Abube Onuchuku as well. What's happened with that one? So sometimes we say, oh, this player, oh, they're too arrogant, they don't want to play for Nigeria, blah, 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 blah. Now, yeah, these ones who have made themselves available, what has happened to those players? Now, speaking about dual nationals, there was a video I did earlier on this week. I talked about an Empoli player, an ex-Chelsea player, that there have been several reports saying they're eligible that he is now willing to play for Nigeria. He's 23 years old. So for me, and people have been celebrating to say, oh, NFF, they won. Yes, we won this player's allegiance from England. No, you can only win a fight if you actually had an opponent that you were fighting with. You can't say I won. You didn't win because England were not really interested in the player. And don't get me wrong, he can come out to be very good. Like Ademola Lookman. Ademola Lookman got to a point in his career where England were not really interested in him. But through his own hard work, through the decisions that he got to make going to Atalanta and developing from there, he's now the kind of player he is now. So Faustino Anjorin, right now, England don't really have their eyes set on him because the way his career has moved. Yes, he was highly rated at Chelsea. He was seen as a top-level wonder kid. But things didn't go swimmingly. A bunch of loans. I think he played a couple of minutes here and there for Chelsea first team. He went on loan and then was actually sold, to a team in Russia. And then from there, he eventually came back, was loaned to Portsmouth. Then from there, he was now then sold from Chelsea. He then went to Empoli. And at Empoli, he's been okay. He hasn't been super, super fantastic, in my honest opinion. He has been good, but he hasn't been super, super fantastic. In fact, while we're doing this video, I'll just quickly do something now. I'll just bring up his stats and let's see if we can have a discussion about that. So you can see his stats. They're not particularly mind blowing. I'll share my screen in a minute. Don't worry. So his stats are not particularly mind blowing. If we are being totally honest, so for me, I'm okay and happy with him being, open to playing for Nigeria, playing for the Nigerian Super Eagles. So if you look at his stats, so in 17 matches, he's not scored any goals. He's come with 3 assists and he's got 2 yellow cards. So that's not particularly fantastic in my opinion. I want to know what you think about it. It's not particularly fantastic in my opinion. So but if he's willing and wants to play for Nigeria, why not? If not, but then again, for me, my major gripe is NFF. Stop acting like this was something you won because you are fighting hard against England and England wanted him and you are fighting hard. And once again, like I said with Ademola Lookman, our strategy, the strategy of Nigerian football, for Nigerian football, can't and shouldn't be mistakes, can't be happy accidents. This guy was not meant to be that good, but wow, he's just good. Like Ademola Lookman, oh wow, Ademola Lookman, he wasn't meant to be that good, but wow, look at him, he's so good. No, that should not be Nigeria's tactics. That should not be Nigeria's strategy in getting players to commit to play for the Nigerian Super Eagles. So that's one thing I want to say about that. But if he's willing to play for Nigeria, fair and well and good. And he's at an age where he still can give something. He's 23 years old. So for me, I'm not too, I don't feel too upset about that. What really makes me feel upset is when you see a player, when he was 19, he was asked to play for Nigeria, he said no. 21, he said no. And then you get to 29, 30, you're falling out of form. England are not even looking at you anymore. Then you now say, "Oh, I want to play for Nigeria." Then that's the one that really gets me upset because you've given all your best years to hope that England will call you, and then England will not call you, and then you want to play for Nigeria. So for me, in that regard, I would have been more upset with that. But nonetheless, for still Nigerian, let's see if the NFF can even get that over the line, get him to commit to playing for Nigeria. But let no one tell you that he is the answer. He is immediately someone that's going to make immediate impact. If he comes and does, well, we will all be happy. I will be happy, with that one. But we all know the main person. We all know the main guy that we need in that midfield, in that number 10 role. We all know Arsenal's Ethan Wannery. Yes, he's the player. We all know that. Yeah, he's a player that is needed, for that role. And then Crisantos Uche. Crisantos Uche needs to be in this next team that will be, the next set of players that will be invited to come in, to play for the next set of World Cup qualifying games. He must be in that team. And Hassan Yusuf, bye bye. He must be in that team. That's my thoughts and opinions on that bit. And they said there's Chukwueze has been advised to join Newcastle United. I want to get your thoughts and opinion about that. Samuel Chukwueze, has played in AC Milan, played Villarreal, played AC Milan, so he knows what it takes to play in a top flight league. And now he's reportedly been advised to switch to Newcastle United. Now, for me, if he comes to a move to Newcastle United, wouldn't be the worst in the world. I think it would be a very, very good move for him. I think he's got the skills, he's got the pace to play there. But one thing about him is a bit inconsistent, and his injury record isn't all too good. But I think from a Nigerian perspective, I think it would be a good move for Samuel Chukwueze to make to Newcastle United. I think he can really, really thrive there. There's another a player, Jacob Murphy, who's eligible to play for Nigeria. That's called a wonderful goal. But he is, yes, I think he has come out to say that he's waiting on England. So for me, Murphy, bye bye. For me, I don't. While I am of the mindset that the NFF should do their utmost to convince players to play for Nigeria, once a player comes out to say, "No, I don't want to play for Nigeria. I want to play for England. I want to wait for England. I want to wait on Germany. I want to wait on Spain." For me, see you later. Best of luck wherever you go to. So back to Chukwueze. What are your thoughts and opinions? Should he indeed go to Newcastle United if a bid comes in, or you feel he should wait for a bigger move, or rather remain with AC Milan? So for me, my opinion, I think if Newcastle United are serious about his signature and they make a move to sign him, I think he should make that move. He should take that leap and come to the Premier League, and let's see what he's about. Hopefully, he can really be an important player in the Premier League. Maybe break Iwobi's record. So I want to know what you think about that, and then also want to know about your thoughts on this whole South Africa point saga. Do you think the points will actually be deducted? Because we've been hearing several news, we're hearing different discussions. Points deduction loom over South Africa. FIFA. Da, da, da. I wonder why it's taking too long. It shouldn't take this long. I know, when Nigeria got point deduction, how many years ago? Was it 2013? I don't think it took that long for the decision to be made. So I hope no funny business is going on behind the scenes. Because for me, I'll take anything, and no one force anyone, to play players, out of position. So that's that. So now, on all the topics we've talked about, we'll take it back. What are your thoughts and opinions on Victor Osimhen? Which club should he go for? Where do you think would be best for him? Do you even think maybe Galatasaray should even put a cheeky bid? If Galatasaray was to make a bid for Victor Osimhen, what are your thoughts? Do you think he should make that move? He should go to he should go to Galatasaray? Because of course they've shown him love, they've shown him affection. How the fans welcomed him. He said as much in that interview on Mikel Obi's podcast, the Obi1 podcast. He said as much on there, that he was amazed by the love and affection that the Galatasaray fans have showed to him. So if Galatasaray were to put in the bid for Victor Osimhen, what would your advice be? Would your advice be that, okay, Victor Osimhen, this club, they've shown you love, they've shown you, interest and affection. Would you like, to make that move? Would you want to stay on there? So what are your thoughts on that one? For me, I think he should leave. If you get that move, come to a top Premier League club, or if indeed the move comes to go to Real Madrid, you take it. You take it. Because right now, all these clubs that think they like you, if you just step out of line a bit, then you're gone. And now also want to talk about not so great news for two Nigerian players. For one is certain, that is, talk about relegation. For one, that is certain, and that is Onuachu and Wilfred Ndidi. Relegation for them and their clubs in the Premier League is now almost certain. Certain for one of them, and that is Southampton, and that is Paul Onuachu, Joe Aribo. So three Nigerian players, Joe Aribo and Paul Onuachu's Southampton, have been relegated, to the Championship. I think was it 11 points they've got so far? So a poor return. Paul Onuachu, I think he scored in the game that they got relegated in, but I think his goal didn't quite make any difference. And for me, I think the former manager of Southampton is another manager that I think should be hired and sacked again, because it's another manager that has fallen for this, modern manager bug, that has fallen prey to this modern manager bug. That you see your team is struggling. You see your team is on the bottom of the table. You see your team is like the worst team in the league. Now, instead of you as a coach to be responsible and set up your team in a way that makes them difficult to beat, where they can hit opposition teams on the break with pacing wingers that they have, you don't. You want to play from the back, 50 short passes at the back. You get pressured. You make a mistake. You concede cheap goals, and he kept doing it. It was Paul Mitchell or something. He kept doing it, game in, game out. They'll do the same thing, concede goals the same way, and he would come out with his chest puffed out and to say, "Yes, that's where we want to play. We're going to make mistakes." And so that's the problem you're having with these modern coaches. They all feel like that they don't care so much about winning. They care so much about their ego and what they call their philosophy, style of play. So they could be losing 10-0, but they want to play the way they want to play, as opposed to winning. So, but sadly, Paul Onuachu and Joe Aribo will be part of that team. So they will be getting relegated, from the Premier League once the season ends. They're relegated with games to spare. So that's sad. Relegated with games to spare, just like winning the league with games to spare. They are getting relegated with games to spare. And then Wilfred Ndidi, he too, his club possibly will get relegated because they lost again. Was it 3-1? They lost again, a huge loss to Newcastle United. Have been on excellent form so far in the last couple of games. They've been on excellent form. They won the League Cup, Carabao Cup, and they have been on very good form, and they beat Leicester. And Leicester, I think they've gone 11 games with is it 11 games without a win or a losing streak even? They've been losing tons and tons and tons of games. And they're another club that have this modern manager bug where we pass it from the back, we lose our way, as opposed to looking at winning. So Wilfred Ndidi, will possibly be relegated with Leicester City and will be going down with them. So for me, what do you think? Do you think he should go down with them, play in the Championship, or maybe look for a newly promoted Premier League club? Possibly that could be Leeds United, that possibly could be Sunderland. Join them when they're coming up and give the sort of Premier League experience, to that team. Or maybe try a different league. Go to Spain, go to Turkey, go to Germany, try something different. So what are your thoughts and opinions on that? So unfortunately, these two players will be, most likely playing in the Championship. So Paul Onuachu, Joseph Aribo, Joe Aribo, and then of course Victor Odo. Maybe with Southampton being relegated, maybe that means he then would have more chances, more opportunities to play. Because a lot of players are top earners will be sold from the club. Of course, you have Tyler Diblin that's already attracting huge interest from top Premier League clubs, and he's been packaged and hyped to the extent where people are now putting him in that £100 million range of Tyler Diblin. £100 million. How? But that's what it is. But when Victor Osimhen was rumored to be worth £100 million, we were losing their mind. But a kid, that has only scored 4 goals this season, playing for a side that is destined for relegation, is somehow worth £100 million. Make it make sense to me. Make it make sense. So what are your thoughts and opinions on Paul Onuachu? What advice are you going to give to them? Same as Wilfred Ndidi. Do you jump ship? The team is getting relegated. You jump ship. Go to maybe a club that's getting promoted to the Premier League afresh, or maybe you absolutely leave the Premier League completely and maybe you go to Bundesliga, or you go to Turkey, or you go to the Spanish La Liga, or somewhere else, or maybe go back to Belgium for someone like Paul Onuachu to go back to Belgium and see how you can thrive there. So unfortunately, these two teams will be going down, and I think these players they have a huge decision to make, decision time. So we've talked about a lot of topics on the show. I want to know what your thoughts and opinions are on all of them. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do subscribe to the channel. Share this video to people you know that would love this sort of content, and I'll see you on yet another video. At this point, I want to say a big thank you for all those who've been watching, who've been on this stream with me, and I'll see you on yet another video. So stay well and stay blessed.